Good evening and welcome. I'm Chris Barnell.
Reporting from Moscow.
Tbilisi.
Times Square.
May your dreams be your only boundaries in life.
Hello and welcome to this week's edition of GHS-TV's award-winning talk show, Crosstalk. I'm your host, Renee Mann. Each week in this time slot, we take a look at different issues, personalities, and events that affect you and our community. Over the past decade, Memphis and Shelby County have seen an economic boom with a number of big companies moving to the area. Electrolux, Mitsubishi, and the Bass Pro Pyramid are prime examples of that. Helping to drive this boom are two local organizations and a popular blog dedicated to bringing in more economic development and tourism to the Mid-South. Later in the show, we'll talk with Jonathan Lyons from the Memphis Convention and Visitors Bureau and Holly Whitfield, who writes the popular I Love Memphis blog. But joining me right now is Leslie Gower, Vice President of Downtown Marketing and Communications for the Downtown Memphis Commission. Thank you so much for being on the show today.
I'm so happy to be here.
First off, for our viewers, can you talk about all the work that's going on at the Downtown Memphis Commission?
Sure. For people who don't know, the Downtown Memphis Commission was started in 1977, and to bring more vibrancy and more people and more buildings back to life in downtown Memphis. So right now in downtown, we're seeing about $1.3 billion worth of new projects taking place. So it's very exciting. There's a lot going on in downtown. And our organization has two primary metrics to make sure that things are going well in downtown. One is to make sure that property values are rising, because property values mean more taxes for the rest of the city that can be invested in schools and police and other things like that. And the other metric is, are more people coming downtown? So we're seeing that we're having about 5 million people come to downtown each year. Our residential population is growing faster than any other place in the city, and we have about 63,000 people working in downtown right now.
As VP of Marketing, how do you promote Memphis to other companies?
Well, downtown is one of those things that once you're there, it sort of sells itself. So it's really the best way to market Memphis is to get people there so that they can experience it. We do a variety of different things. We host events, we produce events like Downtown Dining Week, holiday parades. We do things throughout the summers, concerts and other things like that, just to bring people to downtown so that they can experience it. But we also sponsor and recruit a lot of events in downtown, like, for example, Indie Memphis Film Festival, River Arts Festival, and so all of these events are bringing people to downtown so that they can experience it. When it comes to recruiting businesses, we get very targeted on who we're talking to, and we make sure that that messaging is appropriate and really speaks to who that audience is. Our audience is very varied because we have people who want to play there and then we have people who want to work there. So you have to make sure that your messaging is hitting the right audience.
What has been the biggest challenge in promoting Memphis?
Well, that's a great question. I think one of the challenges is perception. There's a lot of people who perceive downtown as either a scary place to be because they haven't been there in a long time, and they don't really, they're basing their perceptions on the history of downtown versus what is actually happening today. And downtown is actually the safest precinct in the city. A lot of people don't realize that. So just getting over those myths almost of what people have in their mind that really aren't reality.
There are several different improvement districts. Can you tell us what they are?
Well, there's really just one large improvement district. It's called the Central Business Improvement District, and it's about 6.5 square miles. It extends from Danny Thomas to the river, from Crump to Wolf River, and then it extends up through the medical district. So that is our Central Business Improvement District. And generally that was established over since 1977 as a way to really focus our energy on making sure that this area is vibrant and active, because the more dense your downtown is with businesses and people, the more taxes we're generating. So that was why it was set up, and that's where it is.
You mentioned being a sponsor of Downtown Dining Week.
Yes.
Can you talk about the success it's had over the past few years?
Well, sure. Actually, it started with one of our chefs, Felicia Willette, who owns Felicia Suzanne's, and she came to us and she said, I have this idea that I've seen in other cities. And really, it was to bring the restaurants together to offer a discounted rate on dinners. And they didn't really have the wherewithal to organize it, and so that's where our staff comes in. We facilitate things that people want to do. So we kind of just worked with the chefs to find out what they wanted to do, and we implemented it with marketing and media and getting the menus together and setting up a website and things like that. So it started about 6 years ago with 20 restaurants, and now we almost have 50, so it's really grown over the years.
Some would say the Bass Pro Pyramid is the crowning achievement of the past decade. What went into making it a reality?
Well, actually, our organization didn't have much to do with the pyramid. That was really led by the city. But what we're seeing is a remarkable transformation of, hopefully, we're going to see a remarkable transformation of the area that's surrounding the pyramid. What we heard from Bass Pro officials is that in the first 70 days, they had 1.4 million people walk through their doors. That's an incredible amount of people. So we hope that that translates to feed other businesses in downtown and really create more activity. We're seeing our whole riverfront change, though, and it's not just the pyramid. We're seeing with Beale Street Landing in the middle, and then Mud Island, there's talks of renovating Mud Island, and then also the Harahan Bridge, which is going to be that bike path that goes across the Mississippi River. Nothing else like it in the world. So our riverfront is really changing into something special.
Are there any plans in bringing more businesses back to the Pinch District?
There is talk at the city on some plans, but I really don't have any specifics on that. So we'll see. I know St. Jude is such a major player in that neighborhood. I mean, it's just this massive campus, and so I'm sure that they're going to be involved in what happens in that area, as is the city.
Despite all the regrowth, some people are still hesitant to go downtown.
Mm-hmm.
What do you say to them?
Downtown is for everybody. There's no matter how you access it, whether you're into food or history or family-friendly activities or nightlife, there's something for everybody to do in downtown. It's safe, it's accessible. Downtown is really everybody's neighborhood.
The current president, Paul Morris, is stepping down.
Yes.
We have a new president coming in. Can you talk about him and what he's bringing to the position?
Well, his name is Terrence Patterson, and actually he's a graduate from Germantown High School.
Oh, really?
Yes, and he is a wonderful person from Memphis. He went to Harvard, he went to Northwestern University. He's done some amazing things in some really big cities across the country. And we had some very influential people recruit him back to Memphis because he's the type of person that we need as leaders in our community. So we're thrilled to see Terrence stepping up into Paul's big shoes to fill, and we expect to see some really interesting things happen under Terrence's watch.
What other things does the DMC get involved with?
We get involved in a lot. There's no typical day at the DMC, so we are involved from everything from clean and green programming to safety initiatives, business recruitment. We do property development incentives. We do master planning for neighborhoods. We do business retention, so we work with the businesses to address what needs they need to make them happy and want to stay in downtown. We do events, event recruitment. I mean, it just depends on what the day brings to you. So it's really like we're almost a city hall for downtown.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Well, thank you for having me.
Thank you to Leslie Gower from the Downtown Memphis Commission for being on the show. We have to take a short break. When we return, we will talk with Jonathan Lyons from the Memphis Convention and Visitors Bureau about what the city is doing to promote Memphis's many attractions.
Okay, Josh, do your stuff.
Okay, people, you know the drill. Canned foods only, guys.
Sometimes you gotta live what you believe, open your arms, 'cause that's where it starts. Right here with you and with me. One the world needs now is love.
Generosity, pass it on.
A little help from up above. Faith to me.
A message from the Foundation for a Better Life.
GHS-TV has a new website. You can now view any of our shows on our new media pages. Or check out the latest Wake Up Germantown or Red Devil postgame. As always, we're streaming live 24/7. Just visit ghstv.org today.
Welcome back to Crosstalk. I'm your host, Ernimi Ma'am. This week we are talking about economic development in Memphis and how that impacts tourism. With me now is Jonathan Lyons from the Memphis Convention and Visitors Bureau. Thank you for coming on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
Can you explain for our viewers what your organization does?
Sure. The Memphis Convention and Visitors Bureau was founded in 1925 with the mission of promoting Memphis and Shelby County as a desirable destination for visitors, which include convention delegates, business travelers, leisure visitors, or people coming in for a special event.
How do you get people to visit Memphis?
Well, that's a good question. There's many ways. Through the web today with memphistravel.com, that's kind of our official homepage when promoting Memphis as a travel destination. But a lot of marketing, public relations, sales efforts, because you're really targeting specific visitors in certain parts of the world. For example, internationally, we get a lot of visitors from Europe, including London, Germany, and France, and also Australia, Japan. But then you have cities here in the U.S. like Dallas or Houston, or regional markets where you're getting repeat visitors that may have a different reason to come back to Memphis.
What is the most challenging thing about promoting Memphis?
Well, there's so much to promote and so many people to bring here. On average, the city gets about 10 million visitors a year, and that supports about 35,000 jobs in Memphis and Shelby County. But as far as challenges, competition, there's so many cities that people can go to, getting people to take their vacation time so that they can come explore some of these cities. And wishing we had just more people to, promote the city.
Well, you're also on social media. What do you offer visitors that can be useful during their stay?
Well, a lot of times, Twitter, Facebook, we've kind of got a good team on staff that really is kind of like almost a beat journalist for our city. And for example, Holly Whitfield, who will be speaking with, does a lot of work with us in promoting more insider tips, things that you may not find on a traditional tourism bureau. But those are some of the helpful hints that let people really kind of find the hidden gems in the city.
What is the most common thing you hear from first-time visitors?
A lot of times it's they thought they had a perception of what Memphis was, and then they get here and it really exceeded their expectations. They had way more of a good time than they anticipated.
In the last segment, we talked about the Bass Pro Pyramid. How has that impacted the city's tourism since it opened in May?
Well, it's actually been very helpful. It's really kind of expanded the city's offerings as a destination, especially appealing to outdoor enthusiasts, and adds another family attraction. That's definitely an attractor that's bringing a lot of people from outside of the city into Memphis. And once they're here and they've seen Bass Pro or maybe gone to the top, they're more likely to explore some more of downtown, or maybe go a little further east and check out some of the other attractions in the city. So it's definitely been a huge positive for tourism.
What other projects is the MCVB involved in?
We're involved sort of like the DMC with many projects year-round. Memphis in May Elvis Week, the AutoZone Liberty Bowl, any major event or organization that's bringing out-of-towners to Memphis, our key goals are bringing people to the city and extending their length of stay. So there's always a variety of projects that we're working on.
When is the busiest time of year for Memphis?
That's a good question. May is always really busy because of the Memphis in May International Festival. That's when a lot of hotel occupancy goes up. One thing that's really helpful too is Elvis Week, that usually fills up the city in a week that normally destinations are seeing less hotel occupancy, because it's a time of year that people are going back to school, ending their vacations. But I would say probably May is our busiest.
When is the perfect time to visit Memphis?
Any time of the year. Some of my favorites, though, would probably be April and May, or also this month right now, October, just because we're in the middle of so many festivals. The weather is really good, so it's easy to navigate the city on foot, especially if you're exploring somewhere like downtown or Overton Square. So if I'm talking to a potential tourist, I would give them dates like, September, October, or in the springtime.
So how does Elvis Week and Memphis in May compare to each other?
Well, they're completely different. Elvis Week it has grown over the years to expand over 2 weekends, and it specifically identifies very passionate Elvis fans that make repeat trips to the city year after year. That includes a candlelight vigil they do in front of Elvis's mansion, an Elvis Presley tribute artist competition. Just think of like a super fan conference that takes over the city. Memphis in May, really is a month-long event where that first weekend you may have a different audience downtown. You've got the Bill Street Music Festival with the 4 stages, a lot of people staying downtown. Then 2 weeks later, the World Championship Barbecue Cooking Contest really brings out the barbecue enthusiasts and all the foodies as well. So they offer something different for a different type of visitor, but really have a big impact when it comes to tourism still.
And what about the Music Hall of Fame? We know that Justin Timberlake came. Did that have a lot of attraction to tourists?
That's something, yeah, it's very new. The exposure that got the city was incredible. I mean, when Justin accepted that award and was talking passionately about Memphis, every major media picked that up about how Justin was saying how awesome Memphis is. The Blues Hall of Fame, though, is kind of a trend of some of the new music attractions. To back up, we have more than 60 attractions in Memphis, tourist attractions. The Memphis Music Hall of Fame, which is brand new near Beale Street, opened just in August. We also had the Blues Hall of Fame open back in May, which is on South Main near the Civil Rights Museum. Along with Bass Pro, as you mentioned earlier, that's 3 really major new attractions that are going to add to the appeal for tourists in the future.
On a personal note, what is your favorite thing about promoting Memphis?
My favorite thing, it's probably the people that I get to meet from all over the world that I get to invite to Memphis and show them around. It's really just kind of like bringing someone into your home and making them feel welcome, and also getting to work closely with all of the city's great organizations and people. It's really kind of an honor to be the person that's working on their behalf. So to bring someone in from out of town, tell them about what they're going to experience, and then let them have that experience is a really rewarding feeling.
Well, thank you so much for being on our show today.
Absolutely. Happy to be here.
Thank you, Jonathan Lyons, for joining us on the show today. Right now, we will take a short break, but when we return, Holly Whitfield will join us to talk about her very popular I Love Memphis blog and what she is doing to spread the Memphis love throughout the community.
I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Oh, yeah.
GHS-TV has a new website. You can now view any of our shows on our new media pages. Or check out the latest Wake Up Germantown or Red Devil postgame. As always, we're streaming live 24/7. Just visit ghstv.org today.
welcome back to Crosstalk. I'm your host, Renee Mann. Right now, I am joined by Holly Whitfield, author of the popular blog, I Love Memphis. Thank you so much for being on our show today.
Thanks for having me.
First off, for our viewers, can you tell us how the blog was started?
Absolutely. So you just spoke with my colleague, Jonathan Lyons from the Memphis Convention and Visitors Bureau, and about 6 years ago, they decided that it was time to start a blog and to have some social media presence. So they put out a call for that, and my predecessor, a young woman named Carrie Crawford, who was a Memphian, decided to start the I Love Memphis blog as part of that project. And it kind of blew up. At the time, a lot of people weren't really feeling the Memphis love, to be quite honest with you. And ever since then, it's a combination of things happening with our city and great timing with the start of the blog. And a lot of people have responded really well to it. About 2 years ago, she moved on to other things, and there I was, put in my application, and it's been a real trip. It's been wonderful the last 2 years to take over the blog and write about Memphis every single day.
Is it just you, or are there a staff of writers for the website?
It's just me. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah, I'm producing a lot of content. I'm managing all the social media. Absolutely love to have guest bloggers from time to time, and a lot of people definitely support me and help me out by giving me great story ideas and other information, but in terms of bloggers, it's just me.
The I Love Memphis movement has grown a lot since the growth and development of social media. How has that impacted the success of the blog?
Well, a lot of people, I would even say most people, access the blog through links that I share on social media. Whether people prefer to use Facebook or whether they follow me on Twitter, that's really a great way for them to keep up every time I put up a new post. Like I said, I'm producing a lot of content, usually every day, at least one new story. So that's an easy way for them to make sure they don't miss anything, and I think that's why the social media has been really popular.
Well, you do food reviews, you write about events, but what has been your favorite part about writing this blog?
My favorite part about writing this blog is actually my favorite part about writing overall, which is when I get to meet people who are doing something that they're really passionate about, whether it's somebody who's starting their own vegan restaurant or somebody who is going to have a brand new event for a charity in Memphis that's going to be really fun, or someone doing something really creative in the city. Whenever I sit down to talk to them and I get to tell people about them and how excited they are, it makes me excited. So anytime I get tired and there's a lot of work to be done, as everybody experiences that, then I go talk to somebody and their energy really rubs off on me, and it's great.
Last month you relaunched the I Love Memphis updated website. Tell us all about the new additions.
Right, so the I Love Memphis blog has really been a very homegrown sort of effort. It was a very simple WordPress site for many years, and we had so many people using the blog and so many stories on the blog that I decided it would be a great idea for us to sort of reorganize it and make it easier for people to find what's on there. So we worked with a local company called S2N Design, and they worked very closely with them on a daily basis for several months to sort of figure out how to freshen it up, give us a new look, reorganize it so it's easier to find things about food, people, places, and events. And we also have a brand new event calendar that's a lot better. Each event has its own page, so you can get all the info if you want to figure out what's going on this week or weekend. And we also have an interactive map on the site, which is really my favorite part. If you haven't seen it, definitely go to ilovememphisblog.com and take a look, because you can click on different areas of town, whether it's North Memphis or the Burbs or East Memphis. You can click on that and see what's going on in that part of the city.
Well, you also do podcasts now, is that correct?
That's right.
And how have you seen a change? Is there more feedback coming in from that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think people in Memphis are really starting to catch on to the podcasting phenomenon that's been around for some time. I do I Love Memphis podcast. It's a monthly podcast, and then we also have another short clip that comes out each month with my co-host Kevin Cerrito. You can find all that on the blog. But in Memphis in general, there's the OM Network that has a bunch of different podcasts from all different kinds of people talking about all different kinds of things, from comedy to comic books to everything in between. So I think that the I Love Memphis podcast has just kind of been a part of the overall movement in Memphis, and I hope that it continues to flesh out and grow. I know some of the major media players in town, the Commercial Appeal, the Memphis Flyer, have sort of recently started their own podcast, so I think it's just going to continue to grow from here.
Well, how did you start this podcast?
Well, I think that it was just it seemed like there was an opportunity for me to talk more about more things going on. It's always a hard thing to try to decide what to write about. And I was doing regular radio appearances on Cerrito Live with Kevin Cerrito, and we were kind of talking, and we said, you know, what if we kind of recorded some of these and fleshed it out? Maybe we got some guests to come on, and like, there's so much to talk about in Memphis and so many great people. What if we use this as an opportunity to interview those people, that people can listen to it rather than just read? And we tried it out, and we got good response. We've had some great guests, everything from film director Craig Brewer to we actually interviewed Paul Morris, the outgoing downtown Memphis Commission president, sort of see his perspective on his 5 years at the DMC. So everybody in between. So yeah, it's been a great fun time with the podcast.
I Love Memphis is now the go-to blog for Memphians who want to find something to do during the week or the weekend. How has that aspect come about?
I think that people, and we've actually done a little bit of research with the CVB and trying to talk to readers to make sure that we're giving them what they want. And I think that people really respond to the idea that it's an individual, me, who is going out, checking things out, talking to people, seeing things for myself, and then writing about it. Nobody is approving what I write before I write it ahead of time. I'm not being compensated for any specific posts that I'm writing, so there's not really any sponsored content. If there's any kind of free ticket or something, I'm always saying that, so I think people trust the blog. I say all that to say that they really believe me when I say, oh, I went here and this taco was great and you should get this, or, you know, if maybe you like this other thing better. So I'm really honest in my blog posts, and I think that's why people have come to depend on it.
What do you see for the future of the I Love Memphis blog?
Well, now that we've got the site redesigned, which was definitely the first 2 years of my time here, that was definitely my focus. I really want to continue to focus more on other Memphians. So whether that's talking about a lot of small businesses, we're seeing more small and medium-sized businesses grow, and people that really want to support that shop local, buy local, eat local. And so I really want to focus on that, as well as individuals, letting them tell their stories. So it's not just me that people are learning about, but it's other Memphians.
Well, thank you so much for coming on our show today, Ms. Whitfield.
Thank you for having me.
In order for Memphis to grow and flourish, it needs 3 things: economic development, tourism, and local pride. And I hope we've shown you how the city is excelling in all 3. I would like to thank all of our guests for coming on the show today. Remember, Crosstalk can be seen each week at 9:30 a.m. and 7 p.m. on Mondays, 9 a.m. and 7 p.m. Thursdays, and 7:30 p.m. on Sundays. For more information on our programming, please check us out on the web at GHS-TV.org, where we are streaming live 24 hours a day. You can also check us out on Facebook and Twitter. I'm Renee Ma'am. From all of us at GHS-TV, thank you for watching Crosstalk, and I hope to see you again.